conversation is the earned media conversation. So every time that we have these events, we've been very nice to each other. You know, been, oh yeah, influencers, PR professionals, but let's get to the chase. I am a PR professional, and I know that a lot of clients reach out to me to say, how is it that we can get an influencer to talk to us, talk about us, without us having to bribe them or give them money? Like, how can we get them to talk about us authentically? So I decided, let's finally have an earned media conversation, because I think that's the elephant in the room when it comes to public relations professionals and influencers. So it's time to have this conversation. So before we begin, does everyone know the meaning of earned media?
Yes.
Okay. Oh wait, I didn't give my panelists their microphones. Here. Testing. Okay, cool. We have 2 working mics. Okay, does any one of my panelists want to take the definition of what is earned media? Go for it.
Since I have the mic. Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is Ella. This is Michelle T. This is Brian J. and Michelle M. You guys have their bios. I sent you so much information about them before tonight's event, so we didn't have to waste time going over bios. Okay, so go for it, Ella.
Okay, cool. So let's do like a quick overview. So there's 3 types of media, right? There's owned media, which is when a person generates controls, such as like having your blog or website or YouTube channel. Then there's paid media, which is basically paid advertising, right? So sponsored posts on Facebook and Instagram, TV commercials, ads. And then earned media is, the way I like to look at it, is kind of like word of mouth or like virtual marketing. So when you're resharing or retweeting or mentioning, tagging, or having a media outlet, like say someone approaches you and wants to write an awesome article about your brand or about you, that's a really, cool, badass form of earned media.
Awesome. Sorry, I was adjusting the Facebook Live there. Thank you, Martina, for pointing that out to me. Anyone else want to take that question? Michelle M. Michelle Mackey. Michelle Mackey is the one that's giving away the spot to her master class coming up. So make sure you drop your business cards in that bowl too.
Don't forget to drop that business card. So to me, earned media is similar to what you said, but just to build on that is, any type of organic coverage that is earned, right, or achieved through organic outreach. So whether it's pitching, which is what we do as PR people, is we pitch the media to get coverage. We also pitch influencers, but in different ways if we're good at it and do it the right way. And if we achieve that kind of coverage or get influencers to post about our clients or get a media outlet to write about it through our efforts, which is not paid or not an ad, then that is organic or what we call earned.
So everyone has an understanding of earned media? Any questions? Okay. Brian, why do you think PR professionals want to get earned media from influencers in the room?
So earned media, it is the basis of PR, right? It is how this started out. So from kind of day one, PR professionals have been tasked with, from their clients and from everyone else, to how do we share our story? How do we tell our story? And the way to do that is to have advocates within third parties. So that's media, influencers, bloggers, anyone that has a microphone or has a platform in which they can share it more widely. And so that's always been the goal, right? Is how do we tell that story? I think more recently, and I would even say, I've been doing PR now for 15 years, and I'll say even at the beginning of my career, paid media was not really the thing. I think more so nowadays you see it as more being the norm. But even when I started out, earned media and knowing how to tell a good story, how to pitch a newspaper reporter was the origin. So, all that to say that I think, repeat the question, repeat the first half of the question.
Why do PR professionals want to get earned media out of influencers?
Gotcha. So we want to get earned media because one, that's what we're paid to do. And PR obviously is, I think the bigger distinction is knowing the difference between PR and advertising, right? What an advertiser does, what a media buyer does, is very different than what a PR practitioner does. We're tasked with, creating narrative, sharing stories versus saying, here's the thing, I'll give you X amount of dollars and want you to run it.
So Michelle T, why do so many influencers think that earned media is BS?
Ooh, so you're gonna give that to me?
You were quiet, so
I think that most think that it's BS because number one, when most PR professionals do reach out, I think that sometimes they're too specific on what they want. By being too specific, meaning, hey, I want to send you this notebook and you have to post it on your Instagram feed, 3 stories, a YouTube video, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and everything. So I'm a big believer of building relationships, so I do earn media. If someone reaches out to me and they want to say, hey, share this in your stories, but I think most influencers may think it's BS because it takes time to do content. These are hours in the day that we have to spend putting together the content, writing the blog post, and writing the blog post is just not writing it and putting it out there. It's writing it, getting the SEO, getting your pictures correct, making sure you have alt text and all these other things that I won't get into, but I think influencers potentially think it's BS because they're not getting paid, and if they have specific requirements that they want you to do, then it's like, well, I'm doing all of this, but you're just sending me a notebook.
and I'm glad you said that because if a PR professional is requiring you to do something, then that's not earned media. For example, when we reach out to an NBC per se, NBC, we can reach out to NBC and say, NBC, hey, we have this story. Do you want to run it? I mean, we do way more than that. But we say, hey, NBC, this is a story. What do you think? We think this would be great for your audience. And they come back to say, yes, we like it. We want to change it. This is what it's going to be, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, what they put out may not be exactly what we tell them to put out. We put out, and we take we lead and we try to manage and guide and influence, but we have no control over what the output is. So I think for you and for influencers, I want to point out, like, if a PR practitioner is saying, hey, it should be like this, then absolutely yes, it's should be paid. But if it's more of a, hey, can you try this product? Tell me what you think. If you like it, can you share it with your audience? Then I think that's more so what we're looking for is when we share something with you, you try it and you like it enough that you want to authentically share it with your audience. Not because we told you to, but because we were just the vessel to put it on your radar. Michelle M, sorry.
Oh, I just want
Yes.
So yeah, I just wanted to say, I get what you're saying about the earned media part, but when I get stuff, it's like specific things. So I do get things that say, hey, would you like to try this and share it, and it's authentic, but I think most influencers get, I don't want to say irritated or think it's BS because they do get asked specific questions, so it's like kind of confusing to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an awesome point because I think a lot of PR people actually need education really on how to pitch influencers. I feel like it's changed our whole industry, which is why this whole event is so awesome to do. I mean, I've been in the business a lot longer than you. I hate to say, I don't want to say the years, but it's in my bio. Definitely I've seen the changes, and I think the pressure that we're under is from our clients, really, because what happens is that the clients, they all want influencers. They all ask for it. And so it's awesome because we now have this whole other avenue that it's not just traditional PR anymore. We have way more people to be pitching. But what they don't understand that we have to educate our clients is that we can pitch influencers, but they need to authentically want to post at the same time, just like a writer needs to authentically want to cover you. So there's really no guarantees in any of it still. It just gives us like that additional audience to pitch to, and we just need to know how to do it right. Like there's no way we can push you to post exactly where and when and how many. Believe me, just from doing my own social, I can barely get to it because it's so hard and exhausting. You know, I can't even imagine how much work that is. So I get that totally, but I think it's the pressure that sometimes PR people are under, where we feel like the client's like, well, that's not a win to me unless they, you know, post it after coming in and eating at that restaurant. And then we get influencers in our restaurants and then they don't post anything, and then it's like, what happened? How come they're not posting? Maybe they didn't like the meal. You know, I don't really know, but it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing.
It's the same thing as reaching out to people. It's the same thing as reaching out to NBC, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. We have no idea what they're going to say when we pitch it. And I think that's the same thing with you guys, correct?
Absolutely. And I was going to add, I think from a client or a brand perspective, you know, the feedback that we get in terms of they already have in their head the story that they want to tell. What we have to educate kind of our clients on is that, well, a reporter may see that story, or they may see an aspect of that story that is different or that they find more relevant than the thing you're trying to talk about. And I can give you a great example. I just did a client event a week ago where I was working with a major NBA player, right, who was doing something that was very community focused, and we had the kids there, and it's like, oh, this is a great story. And all the reporters want to talk about is, hey, is that player gonna, you know, get traded to this team next year? It's like, because that's what they found relevant in terms of the content versus like, hey, we got this amazing story where this player is doing something for the community, wants to give back, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, that's great, but we want to tell this completely other different story. And so I think, you know, from our perspective, that can be frustrating, but also we have to educate our client on, okay, there are certain things that you're not going to be able to, just in terms of the news cycle, especially when you start getting in certain mixtures, it's going to be difficult to get around that. What we have to do is try to craft everything else that's around that and arm, you know, influencers and media with all the necessary assets so we can guide them to tell that story. It may not be the exact way that you want them to tell it, but as long as we have those elements as a part of it, then that'll come through. So that's like the other half of the mix.
So how do we all come together to create content that's mutually beneficial? I'll let you talk this time.
So I think bottom line, valuable content that goes both ways. The PR pros want that. You as a content creator want to put out valuable content. So it's finding, like from the PR perspective, it's pitching the right product to the right influencer. So doing your research, knowing what the theme of a certain influencer is. You know, there's so many companies out there that have a great mission, and I'm like, wow, they're doing amazing things, but I probably wouldn't work with them because it just doesn't make sense for my feed. Whereas, say, a boutique is opening or a new beauty product is launching, that has my interest. But then again, at the same time, it's like maybe if the style or the mission of that company doesn't also align with what I'm trying to put out to my audience, that could also be a no. So it's finding that right balance and being able to, I feel like when you believe in a product and you stand behind it, that's when the good stuff comes out, you know. So there's constantly companies reaching out to you, you know, asking to promote certain products, but if it doesn't feel right, it's okay to say no, because that's when, you know, like I said, when you stand behind someone or something and truly believe in the product, that's when you create valuable content, and you know, it all comes down to that. It's putting out the good stuff for everyone else to gain.
Anyone else?
I just want to say I totally agree with what you said. I think, again, what you said, doing the research. I know I work with a CBD brand, Equilibria, and I know they did their research because they're for women, by women, and that's what I stand for. So I think that when PR companies do reach out, when they do their research, it's better and it's beneficial because both parties are agreeing upon what the content will be, and it just matches. So,
Real quick, how many people in here are PR professionals, marketers, or on a client brand side? We need to get more of us in here. Someone else had a comment? Brian?
I'll just say for the PR folks in the room, I think you have to have a little bit of obsessiveness when it comes to researching reporters and influencers. Like you literally, and I know it sounds creepy, but you gotta stalk their lives. Like you have to go to their Instagram feeds and read their content, like what they write about, but also just what their own personal lives are about, because that'll help you in terms of crafting like really smart pitches, things that grab their attention, and things that they're going to be interested in. I mean, I've had so many opportunities where I've worked with folks who were just appreciative because they felt like this really fits my personal brand. Like this fits what I'm interested in, this fits what I write about, versus, you know, just saying like, oh, you live in Chicago, so I just pitched you this because this is a Chicago thing. And they're like, I don't even associate, like, you know, like it's like me working with a fast food brand and someone being like, I'm a vegan, why would you pitch me this, you know, like, but just because you live in Chicago, like, so you really have to, and I know it's, for us, it can be difficult because we have all these great tools that build these wonderful media lists for us, and those lists say, okay, this person lives here, and they write about these things, and so you just, you know, you're trying to hit the numbers, and so you're just going through the mechanics of it, but 9 times out of 10, the most powerful and impactful stories that I've been able to secure have come from really digging deep and understanding those passion points about people, you know, looking at it, even adding those things into a pitch show, right? Like saying like, hey, I saw that you have, you know, 3 kids, and so this is a great thing that, you know, could help, you know, keep them, you know, busy during the times when you need to do other things. Or, you know, I saw that you are vegan or that you are concerned about health and wellness. Like, here are the things that my client is working on that may be of some interest. And those things are really what tend to break through the clutter, because I think any of the influencers or any of the reporters in the room will tell you, like, their mailboxes, and I've seen reporters' email inboxes, they are a, excuse my French, shitstorm. Like, it is like thousands of emails, thousands of pitches, and they're like, how do you expect me to get through all of this, you know, and find like that nugget when also I'm against deadlines in terms of, depending on if you're a traditional reporter and it's like, I got to get this copy in, or even if you're an influencer and saying like, this may be my second job. I may have a 9-to-5 job, and then I have to come home, shift through all these emails and figure out. So like understanding those mechanics and understanding that lifestyle, it really, you have to put yourself in their shoes. And I think on the vice versa, like understanding from our end, like, you know, it is a numbers game to a certain extent. Like clients just demand, they're like, hey, we need 4 million impressions from this. And we get it. We're not going to get 4 million impressions from just you. So I have to go through the exercise of like reaching out to multiple people, and some of that is, you know, is gonna turn into like email blasts and like just repetitiveness. But you know, that's the game. But I think if you understand both ends of the game, then you'll have a little bit of more leeway to, you know, show some compassion when you get those emails from different folks.
So when you guys registered, you gave me some questions. I have those questions, but I want to make sure I open it up to you guys as well. So if anyone has any questions right now, raise your hand. Oh, right here.
I'm pretty loud. So for the influencers, could you just go through and give us your...
Wait. I'm a strong believer, if you have a question, you introduce yourself, because I'm a PR person. So when you ask a question, this is your opportunity to let everyone know who you are and what you do, because you might have a new client or partnership or something in here.
I appreciate you. So my name is Mike Roach. I own a PR consulting firm. I'm also a dreamer of an influencer as well. I run a blog about farmers markets. I've been to farmers markets literally around the world. But my question was for the influencers. For us PR people, can you just give us like the best example of how a partnership worked with you guys? I heard what you guys don't like and why you don't like it, but give us an example of how someone approached you, and just if you can just do it like a quick, and then what was the result for both you and that client?
Yeah, so this kind of goes off piggybacking what Brian said, is doing the research. You know, so when a PR company approaches you, you want to know a little bit about the person. Like I said, going to seeing the style of their Instagram feed. So you're not going to pitch them something about food if they're running a fashion or beauty blog.
Can you give us an example, like of someone that successfully did that with you?
An example of someone who successfully pitched you something that made sense.
Yeah, so it's just, someone who knows your name. It's as simple as that. Opening an email like, "Hi Ella, I recently was on your blog or website or Instagram feed and I saw this and I really like that. I like what you're doing here." So kind of just like, making you feel comfortable. It's about building a relationship, right? So the key word is relationship. And in any relationship, you want to have that open and honest communication, and you want to be able to talk, if you're building a relationship with the person that you're working with, you want to be able to discuss like the expectations and even talk about the failures and just overall just have that transparent criticism, right? So you kind of both understand what each of you wants from the other, right?
Mutual beneficial relationships. Michelle, did you want to take that one too?
So you said you wanted an example of someone that pitched me that was a good
Who did
pitch.
it right? Give us an example of somebody that did it right.
So I recently went on a press trip to visit Bloomington, Indiana, and the person that reached out to me knew my name, knew my daughter's name, knew my husband, and it was a really very nice, well put together email that she did a ton of research and knew that I was interested in traveling. So she already went to my Instagram and knew that we do family travel. So I think that the email that she put together was very heartwarming because she knew my daughter's name. I mean, anytime you tell me and email me and say, "How's Riley?" I'm going to automatically say, "Oh, you did your research," because you have to go to my Instagram and look through pictures to figure out what her name is. So like she said, and like everyone else said, the relationships and just doing the research is really important because I don't like to just do one-offs. I like to build relationships with brands, and when they take the time to actually go on my Instagram to see what I'm about and really understand, that just makes me want to work with them even more.
Did you uncover Bloomington? Did you go?
Yes, so I went and I covered it. I mean, it wasn't paid, but they paid for me to stay in the hotel, so it's the same thing.
I have a question from one of our attendees via their registration. This is for the PR professionals. How important of a role do bloggers play in the media?
As far as like coverage, you think, or just
In general, like I think it was very short, but I'm thinking I think the bloggers or the influencers in here may not know how valuable they are to us when we work with clients and when we reach out to them. So what's their value?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, they're super valuable. Like I was saying earlier, I love the fact that we have so many avenues now to get coverage for our clients, and sometimes it's really not all about impression totals and numbers. Sometimes it's just about matching the right client to the right blogger or the right audience. And if they want to really get into a certain blog that's going to reach their target audience, and we follow that blogger and they get a great story, then that's a win, right? It doesn't always have to be Today's Show, New York Times level. It just depends on the target and what the goals are. And so we definitely include bloggers in our outreach and follow them and do a lot of research, and local, national. It just depends on who the client is. We do a lot of nonprofit work, so there are a lot of interesting bloggers to look at there as well. And I feel like there's a lot of dual careers now too, where we have on-air people who are writing blogs. We have newspaper columnists who also have blogs, and so we have so many different ways to look at this. So I think, like you said as well, the best PR people are the ones that are really doing a lot of research. And sometimes you land a hit and you don't realize that writer is actually the intern at the newspaper. So there's multiple ways to create coverage these days in many different avenues. So I think bloggers are super, super important to us.
So I'll say this, and it might be controversial for all the bloggers in the room, and this particularly goes into this earned media conversation. You got to figure out, are you a journalist or are you an advertiser? Because they're two very different things, right? And I think that is important when PR professionals reach out and look for coverage. Because a journalist is someone who's going to take the content, take the idea, put their own spin on it, tell it from their perspective, give a real authentic and organic representation of that. If I wanted you to just take the press release that I wrote and post it on your website, and you want me to pay you for that, that's an advertiser. That's a very different conversation. And so I I think, bloggers need to really sit and think about, their position within the industry. Like, if you want to be a journalist, if you want to be invited to media events and get exclusive access to things and interview people, then, take that same level of journalistic integrity that a writer from the Tribune or someone from NBC5 takes in terms of, handling this profession. So I think, one, that's really important because, when we start talking what's earned media versus what's paid media, if I'm paying you, then yeah, I want you to just post exactly what I say, use these photos, and post it at this time because that's what I'm paying you to do. Versus if we're building a relationship, if we're looking for cohesive partnership, then I want you to give me kind of an authentic representation of whatever that is. So if it's an experience to Bloomington, I want you to tell me about I loved Bloomington, or Bloomington is a crappy town, whatever that is, but that's the experience, and I think you have to be okay with taking that in. I mean, obviously clients never love negative coverage or negative feedback, but that's also authentic to the experience of the writer, and that's the same thing that you would get from someone at the Tribune or the Sun-Times, the New York Times. They would do the same thing versus a blogger who's just spitting back, whatever you want them to say.
I want to add to that. I think both Brian and Michelle gave very interesting points. I'm a PR professional too, for those of you who don't know. You guys are very important because, as Brian and Michelle said, you guys, when you write your blogs, and if we're not reaching out to you, you have this authentic perspective on a lot of different things, and because you have this authentic perspective, you're attracting a lot of people who really, really like you. So if we're always paying you, it's not as authentic to us and our clients. So that's the reason why you guys have value, because we want you to authentically well, not like us, but like what we're presenting to you. But as Brian also said, you have to pay. I remember sometimes I've worked with some influencers and everything had to be paid. You couldn't pitch them because it's oh, you're pitching me, it costs this. It's okay, well, how can I introduce to you something new if I'm always paying you? So then I would never know if you really like it, or do you like it because I paid you to like it. So I think that's something to ponder on, and that us as PR professionals would like for you guys to ponder on is, if we're paying you for everything, we're never getting that true, authentic response of, do you really like this product, or are you just saying it because I paid you to say that? So, yeah, right. Another question, Martina, you still have a question?
Hi, I'm Martina Smith. I'm gonna sit still. But I'm getting there, I got you. So I'm Martina Smith, and I'm with a company called Gold Star Communications. I am their Director of Brand and Digital Marketing. And so my question for the influencers is, as we know, earlier this year, Facebook, Instagram, they made an announcement that they're looking at taking away kind of the like button, the forward-facing piece where we can see as consumers or viewers how many likes a post is getting. So, though that has not happened yet, how are you all preparing for that? Because from a marketing standpoint, that's how, the advertisers who are paying you guys, we're monitoring the success of campaigns. So how are you all going to achieve that? Have you thought about that?
So yeah, that just came out this week that they will be removing the likes in the U.S. I think likes are a vanity number, to be honest with you. A lot of people look at Instagram and want to get 3,000 likes, and it makes them feel good. So Instagram wants to be a safe place, so they want to take it away. We will still be able to see the numbers, and obviously the brands will still be able to see the numbers as well on the back end. I think it's more about, I hope it will be more about the reach and about the actual content the influencer is putting out, because likes can really get to people, and I know people that are in depression because of likes, and it's just really, like I said, it's a vanity number, and the Instagram algorithm is horrible. So somebody said yes. Oh, praise it. The Instagram algorithm is horrible. Like I was just telling someone today, if 1,000 people see my post, only 10% of that 1,000 people will like it. But if 9,000 people see it, then 900 people will like it. But if you don't show my post to the 9,000 people, then I'm only going to get 100 likes. So it's just disheartening. But to answer your question, we will still be able to see the likes, and if the brands, I'm assuming that they will ask and request that information for campaigns and things like that, but I really think that it will be beneficial to influencers to actually care about the content they put out and not just posting so that they can get likes.
Yeah, definitely agree with what Michelle says, and I feel like in today's world, we're kind of all obsessed with follower count and engagement rate, so it kind of throws us off a little bit sometimes, especially as a micro-influencer. You feel like your content isn't being seen by everyone. And so, yeah, likes matter, but at the same time, it's kind of cool that they're doing that because, like Michelle said, as a professional, that's what you're going to do. You're still going to be able to share the likes and the engagement and all of that with the PR company or whoever you're working with, but you're kind of not like just obsessing about the number game.
Anything from the PR side, I guess, because based on their responses, I think that's the gap from the PR.
I have an answer, but I'm gonna see what Michelle and Brian has to say. Well, how with Instagram taking away the viewers' ability to see how many likes a post have, how would that impact us engaging with a particular influencer in regards to knowing how impactful, if they did post something, how impactful that was? I'll take a round at it. I think there's a couple of ways that we could play around with it. I think we have to be creative.
Yeah.
And so maybe if it is a paid partnership, maybe it's giving them a code. Like all of your followers, if they come to us and use this code, then we know that the impact of it was from you was successful because all these people use this code and they got that code only from you. So that's one particular way. I think you can still see comments. So comment engagement is another way that you can probably see how impactful a post is without the likes and engagements. Maybe the time frame of when a campaign started, and if the influencer is saying go follow blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, ever since she said that, we had a 10% increase of people who came to our page as a result. So I think we have to be creative of how we look at that. But I think that also challenges us to see what's success. So a like, well, let me rewind a little bit back. I'm very into strategy. So we have to look at, okay, yes, someone liked us, but why do we want them to like us? You want this influencer to engage with our client or our product or our service, and I'm gonna get to you, I promise you. Because you want ultimately some visibility to your brand, correct? So what does that look like? Why do you want visibility from your brand from this particular influencer? And is it for sales? Is it to get people to this event? And so I think you can start to but measure that based upon what you really want as opposed to seeing how many likes they get. So I think for us, it makes us be more strategy focused as opposed to, like you said, vanity numbers. I do think working with clients, and I've seen this so many times, I work with clients and they're like, oh, we really only want to work with this influencer because they have this number. I'm like, well, this influencer makes more sense. They're all about this, it makes more sense, and they have the followers, and it's not that many numbers, but it's the quality that you're looking for. And they're like, no, but I want this number. And so I think by taking it away, it forces us to actually look at more influencers who may not have those numbers, who may actually be the influencer that we need to engage with because they actually make sense for the brand. Anybody got follow up to what I say? Michelle.
I just want to say too, I think that removing the likes will actually show you who has real followers, because I know I get engagement in my comments, and a lot of people have fake followers, so they're getting likes from bots. So I really think that it will help PR professionals to know who to reach out to, because you'll see in the comments who's actually engaging with the influencer rather than seeing the likes, and they can have fake bots liking their posts. So I think that'll help some.
Thank you so much. So to your point, first of all, my name is Ben Jordan. I run multiple micro-influencer accounts on Instagram. We're mainly food and wine focused. So it was interesting because I think brands have caught on that engagement is going to fall. In my emails this week, because we do so many brand deals, brands recognize this and they wanted us to add them on the back end of Facebook so they can push our posts with sponsorships. They're going to start putting money in because they recognize that the organic reach may be falling, and so to protect their partnership and make sure that they're getting the maximum value from these partnerships, they're actually now opting to put money into the posts themselves.
Brian?
I'll just say, I think the other differentiator will be the quality of the content that's coming out. So, likes and number of followers is great, but again, if you're going back to what is the story, what is a win for the client, if I've got a product and I've got an influencer that's using that product in a really unique way and is developing some really dope content around it, like, that's probably more of a win than the fact that they've got 100,000 followers. If they've got 3,000 followers, but they're doing something really creative and on message for the product that I sent to them, versus someone that's got 200,000 followers and they just posted a picture of the packaging. It's like, hey, this is new. And it's like, that's great, but that's not telling the story. The story is like, I sent you a product and now you're using it in your everyday life. You're like documenting how you're actually organically making it a part of your everyday routine. Like, those are the things that are bigger wins than just, those blank numbers. And like I said, the bot thing is absolutely true. Like, you really have to take those numbers with a grain of salt because people buy followers. It is still a very big thing. I know Instagram and Facebook have tried to cut down on these bot accounts, but I get emails from people all the time. It's like, hey, I can get you, 10,000 followers for X amount of dollars. Like, it's still a very big part of the industry. So,
Speaking of followers, tag us as you see us. As you all are, hope you guys are tweeting and Instagramming, and let us see what you're posting so we can repost you guys and follow you back. Okay, question for my public relations professionals. As an influencer, how can I strengthen and develop meaningful relationships with PR professionals outside of collaboration on events? What should an influencer do to get on a contact list of a PR professional? Basically, how do PR professionals notice other influencers?
We love to hear from influencers all the time. So I would say reach out in any way, whether it's through social media, email, just introduce yourself. Send us your information about your channels, your blog, your content, what interests you. We will absolutely add you to our list. I think we're really good about that stuff, and sometimes we may not be aware that you're out there, or we may be and don't have you on the list, and it's an oversight. So I think that is not something that is hard to do, right? It's just takes pretty much an email, a DM, and just a little bit of background about yourself. So anything else you want to add on that?
I would agree with that. One interesting way that I've had some really, really great influencer contacts is I've had influencers use, brands and products that I work with and have just like organically posted about it and like tag that brand. Because, I also manage some social media profiles for some of my clients. So I've had them like tag stuff and just say like, hey, I used this today. And like even just doing that, sometimes you come across people like, who are you? And you just click on their page and it's like, oh, okay, and it may not always be an immediate action, but it may be, okay, I'm gonna start following you now. And so the next time that I'm thinking about a campaign or I'm looking to engage someone new, it could be then reaching out and saying like, hey, I saw that you posted this, my name is such and such. So, that's one way. you know, you can send emails, you know, definitely look up the PR agencies, look at what their accounts are, and send emails and introduce them, because I get a ton of emails just from folks all over the country, just like, hey, I'm just an influencer, I do this. And then just utilize your networks, right? Like, I think a lot of influencers run in kind of packs and circles of friends now, and so, you know, as long as people aren't, you know, jealous to share those contacts, if you went to a really cool event, say, you know, who invited you, and like, would you share their information with you? Because we're happy to add more people to our list. I think we're always looking for new people. So those are a couple different ways.
Ella wants the mic.
I just wanted to feed off of that. So yeah, obviously like emailing is one way of reaching out, but networking, like showing up to events like this, I think like person-to-person contact is so important. And people who show up run the world, you know, so that's half the battle. You guys are here, you know. So step out of your comfort zone. It all starts with a conversation, you know, face to face, like introduce yourself. That's one way, and then following up with emails. So it's like they have your image in their mind already, and then following up with an email, like that's really, you know, getting into them.
I'll say from my own experience, there's an influencer in the room that invited me to coffee. Like, hey, I like what you're doing. I want to have coffee with you. This influencer will always be on the top of my mind for whatever, just because she offered to have coffee with me. And I may not have anything for her right now, but she's in the back of my mind. And there's a lot of people that's in the back of my mind, like I may not have anything for you right now, but it's also because I am paying attention to what you're doing and what makes sense for you, and I don't want to just give you just the clients that I'm working on and you're like, hey, would you want to do this? Because I know that what I'm working on right now may not make sense for them, but you guys, like when you stick out, you're in the back of our minds, so don't think that because we're not reaching out, it's because we are honoring who you are and what you bring to the table. We're trying to give you something that makes sense as opposed to just throwing something at you.
I just wanted to add one more thing to that. Yeah, because I feel like we're all a great community, you know, influencers, PR people. A lot of us have become really good friends with each other. And I think we've built that over the years by inviting each other to things, to events, meeting at networking events like this, and not always just pitching each other when we need something, right? So just like you said, you know, maybe we go out for coffee or go out for a drink or, you know, just comment on each other's social media. Oh my God, you look awesome. Love that event. Let me know when you have another one. You know, so we're very supportive of each other. So then, you know, when you do need something or do want to pitch something, we're really willing to help each other out, right? So I have a bunch of influencers coming to my master class because they're excited, but they also just want to support me, right? And they want to post and share pictures, and you know, and I didn't ask them to come, you know. So it's just kind of a community that wants to be supportive, and we're all working really hard, and we all have a lot of things we want to help each other out with in the end, right? So I think that's a great part of being really good at this job.
Okay, question. You know the drill. Say your name, who you are, what you do.
Hi, my name's Asiel. I presently work in advertising, but I'm formally trained in PR. And I have a question because I have this super dream. I want to provide freelance social media management for like local restaurants, local businesses. I presently work in food service and convenience stores doing like with that audience. And I'd also like to coordinate their events, but it's actually for you, Mr. Brian. I just wanted to know like how I could pitch myself not having any experience managing events, like coordinating events, and just letting them know the value of a social media manager and like being able to tie together the digital element with like the real life events.
So is that a question for
Pitching.
But you want to pitch yourself to organizations to provide social media management for local.
As a freelancer. It's a little outside of scope, but I'll let Brian tackle this real quick.
I mean, so, you know, I think what Ella said in terms of just like going face to face and having conversations with people is so important. And so if you see there is a lack thereof or a need, going in, introducing yourself, obviously presenting your credentials and having ideas and say, here's some great ideas that I think would fit. Would you be willing to give me the opportunity to test out these things for you? I think especially in terms of local businesses and mom and pop shops and folks who don't have the time, or maybe they previously tried to employ their cousin or nephew or somebody who's really not qualified to do that, to do those things. You having a particular expertise in it is important. Just coming in and offering that service, I think. It's so tricky because you're talking about someone else's business, right? And them handing over their business to you to be a representative of them. And so it's a tricky conversation because people are very, personal with their business. That's their livelihood. And you want to put my livelihood on the Twitter, what is that? It's hard. So I think, you have to be smart about it. Obviously, you have to be prepared. Go into that conversation with a plan. Have the plan when you get there to say, this isn't just an idea in my head. I've already kind of scoped out what I want to do for you.
The research.
Yeah, right. I've done my research. I understand your business from what's publicly available. And I understand, this demographic that you may be trying to reach or that you're not reaching, right? Because again, if you're saying, hey, you're a business that's a mom and pop and I'm trying to reach folks who are not as familiar with you, here's how I can open that door for you. So that's a start, but
I'm gonna stop you only because there's people with questions that's in scope of the conversation, and I want to make sure we stay there. So if you guys have questions for our panelists that is outside of the realm of the earned media conversation, just speak to them after the panel. They're more than happy to talk to you and give their email addresses. Follow them on social media. Their websites are on there. But I want to make sure that we have enough time to get to the people that want to stick to the subject because we only have 15 minutes left. So are you okay with me with honoring that for me? Okay, we have a question here.
Hello, Sienna Bell. I'm coming from Abron Communications. So I'm in brand management. And I actually was going to build on what you were saying because I have a social media community manager who has no agency corporate experience but is now working on our brand. And she came in with a full account assessment. And I thought that was amazing. So just a tidbit. My question for you guys on the PR side. So I have a challenge. My client, first of all, I'm in an ISP, right? I have agency partners who source influencers all the time. The brand that I work on is beauty. It's in brand and beauty under P&G, so conglomerate of all the brands, all the things. And it's specifically multicultural hair care, right? My agency partner who is tasked with sourcing influencers, that's not an issue. They can find us somebody on the drop of a dime. And our client loves to get scrappy. Like, you guys know beauty, it's so influencer-based, like influencer-driven is crazy. So my challenge is I have this agency partner who is great at what they do as far as sourcing. However, when you talk about doing your research, aligning the brand with the right influencer, making sure that, that influencer brand aligns with whatever that corporate brand is, the agency lead, I'm just being a little transparent, agency lead is sourcing people that they know. So they're getting really scrappy because they have people that they can turn on the drop of the dime, but we are trying to reposition consumer perceptions. We're trying to make it our brands, resonate with consumers so that they feel like, okay, this is a product for me, right? That's a part of like framing any product that you're trying to sell. So how do we, as the brand managers, sort of partner with this agency who is in charge of sourcing these influencers to start looking for the right influencers, that match our demographics that the brand has aligned to, all of those things. Like, what advice do you have for brand managers who are going through that type of challenge? I hope that's in scope, Vanessa, I don't know.
So basically, how do you get the people that sourcing for you to open up that net to include people that's not necessarily just people that they know?
I'm gonna give you a really bad answer, and it's do it yourself. I know they get paid to do that, and that's what they're supposed to do, but
Because if they're being framed as the experts.
they are the expert. They're the expert in terms, but you're the expert in terms of knowing the brand, right? You know the ins and outs of the brand. You know all the nuts and bolts, the good, bad, and ugly, and you also know again what does a win look like. You know that better than anyone else. So it's extra legwork, it's extra fee because you're going to spend more time doing it, and it's not fun. But I think the end result is. And you temper that, right? So you temper doing it yourself with, providing recommendations and say like, hey, these people are great. We also saw these other couple people that we thought were good. Can you vet them for us? Even if you vetted them already, at least you're doing the extra legwork to say, here's some other people that we think fit. Would you mind doing the extra legwork to vet them? And even at that point, you can hand it off to them to maybe manage the relationship. But you at least now know that you're getting the right mix of people. So there's no easy answer to that. It's going to take more legwork, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a perfect answer. I mean, you can even just follow some of the influencers that you're interested in them vetting, and just say, hey, we saw these are the kind of influencers we want. Can you please start moving in this direction? We're the brand. This is what we want. Get back to us when you've vetted them. I mean, you really can steer it. So if they won't do it on their own, you really don't have a choice.
Quick question, how many people have questions in the room? So let me just see your hands. I have you, 2, 3, anyone else in the room? Okay, so we're gonna do these last 3, because we have 10 minutes left, and then we're gonna figure out a way to, answer these other questions later. All right, here you go.
Hello, my name is Charlize. My question is, as a blogger, what's the process for recouping an income from a salary?
Yes, we had another conversation with them. I'll have to get to you later. Okay, who else? Over here?
Hey y'all. So my name is Amanda. I'm finance professional by day, personal finance blogger at night. My question is, as far as media is concerned, like I said, my blog is very niche. It's about personal finance, particularly with women. But I was thinking about rebranding and adding maybe another focus. As far as earned media and paid media is concerned, do you specifically look for people that focuses on one topic? And do you feel like brands or influencers or bloggers that focus finance and fitness and things like that, do you feel like it's harder to pitch to them or find something for them because it's more than one topic they cover? Do you feel like bloggers maybe focus on too many topics? I'm sorry, is that loud?
Her question is, do you prefer influencers that focus on one topic, or do you prefer influencers that cover a variety of different things? I have an answer, but I'm gonna let you guys take it. And I want our influencers to answer this particular question too, because I want to see how you guys narrowed in on what you guys cover, because some of you guys started off with something and branched off to something else.
So I like to work with people who have a variety of things they write about, and I think that's important, particularly for this conversation, because I may have a client that I pitch to you that I don't have budget to pay you for something, but we can still work together. And then when I do have another client that may be something totally different, but they got budget, I'm going to think about you again to come back. Because, I work on a variety of different things. Like right now, I have a fast food retailer, I have a museum, I have a technology company, I have a liquor brand. I have so many different things that I work on. And so when you have that diversity, it's like, oh, I can go back to you for this, and I can talk to you for this, and it also gives me a wider net, because that's the other thing when we're talking about earned and paid media. I think most PR professionals understand that for many influencers, bloggers, it's not just a hobby. We understand that people are trying to either supplement an income or that is their income. We get it, so I know it's always this back and forth about well, y'all never pay us. We get it, we really do, but oftentimes, again, as a PR professional, I'm not given an advertising budget as a part of the work that I'm scope to do. They tell me, go get us stories. Not go pay for stories, go get us stories. So it's always that push and pull when working with influencers, because it's like, as much as I may love your content, as much as I want to work with you, I just can't pay you because I don't have the money. They did not give me money to pay for influencers. So, but I may have another client that, has that in scope, and they get it and they understand the whole process, and they give me a bag of money to go out and pay whoever I want to do it. So when you have a diverse content, I can come back to you for different types of things. So it's like, okay, great, they may talk about parenting, but they also talk about nightlife. They also talk about food, but they're also techie. So then I can, recycle those things. So I wouldn't say spread yourself too thin, like figure out the things that you're really passionate about and that you can provide quality content for. But yeah, if you pigeonhole yourself into just one thing, then it makes it more difficult for someone like me to work with you when I've got a variety of different clients.
Ella?
Yeah, so going off of what Brian said, I do think it is important to have your niche and to have that one thing you're really good at and you know a lot about. I think that's very important. And because you don't want to, be all over the place and not, you're so caught up in so many different topics that you kind of lose sight of who you are as an influencer or blogger. So just finding what you're passionate about. Obviously, you can be passionate about more than one thing. So zoning in on maybe like 3 things to start with, where you can really educate yourself on that and be really good at those 3 things instead of being like all over the map. But definitely that one niche that's your like heart and soul, your bread and butter, and then kind of like maybe trailing off, like I'll use myself as an example. So fashion is like my #1, and then travel and lifestyle. So it kind of all makes sense where I can dabble in different things, but at the end of the day, it has like one big niche.
Yeah, I'll just say I started off as a natural hair blogger, and I felt like I was in a box. So it is good to branch out, and like she said, have that one thing that you know that you're passionate about. And so I changed my whole entire blog from just being natural hair to just a lifestyle blog, but it mainly focuses on empowering women, moms, because I'm a mom. So I think having more than one topic that you focus on, like Brian said, it helps him to get his clients more influencers, or not more influencers, I didn't mean to say that, but more coverage, yes.
And I'll just add, just anecdotally, like, you just never know, right? Like, I worked with a blogger once whose focus was primarily like parenting and very like kid focused. And then we were having a conversation once, and I was talking about another client that I have, which is a liquor client, and she was like, I drink. Kids, like, please send me, and so it ended up inviting her to, an event that I had for a liquor client, and like, she had an amazing time and still posted content on her social. Like, it wasn't really appropriate for her blog content because it just didn't have a place to fit, but like her social media was perfectly fine, to be like, hey, I'm at this event, we had a great time, and and the event had a lot of other things in terms of culture and lifestyle that were part of it, so it still fit. So like, when you have these conversations and when you're meeting PR professionals, like just being forward to say like, hey, I know my content may be, personal finance, but I'm also into food, or I'm also into fashion, and those are things that I can incorporate into my content, because if we don't know, we don't know, but there's always opportunity.
Last question for the night, and we'll wrap it up. You had a question? Oh, see what happened? Okay, you second to last.
Hello everyone, my name is Imani Boudre. I go by Imani the Influencer. Follow me on Instagram. So, my question is, how important is it to have like an agency, or like having like your own independent thing where when brands come to you and be like, hey, this and that. So how important is it in choosing an agency, or like management? Yes. For myself or business, how important is it to truly have, or being independent? You see what I'm saying?
Yes. You guys have a question?
you guys have an answer?
Does she mean as a client or as an
She's saying, as an influencer, how relevant is it for her to have an agency that reps her? So basically, if we were to reach out to her, instead of me getting her, I get her a manager that says, oh, Imani is only available to do blah, 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 blah. And, you know, you have to go through me to get to Imani.
I have so many answers, but I'm just going to give you the politically correct answer.
No. Give her the real answer.
Oh, okay, so my personal opinion is you don't need it right away. I wouldn't do that. I made the mistake of hiring someone to manage me right away, and I don't think that it was a good thing. I think that you can totally do it yourself. You just have to be very, very organized. I mean, I don't have a manager now, and I mean, like she said, like my inbox is all crazy, but I don't know from the PR side, like how that looks. I feel like it may not look as good, especially if you don't have like a whole lot of numbers, you know? I feel like they're like, oh, who does she think she is? She has a manager. I mean, that's just my opinion. I just don't think that it's needed right in the beginning because it just might not be the right time for it. But if you have millions of followers and you have your celebrity status, then that's probably the best option. But me being a micro-influencer right now, I mean, it's not the best option for me. And I think that people do look down upon that. Am I right? Or
Michelle, I want you to answer this so much.
Yeah, okay. No, I totally agree with you. I feel like in the beginning you don't need it, you know? I mean, you're just building your brand, you're building who you are. You should be dealing directly with people. You know, you want them to get to know you, you want to be authentic, you know, and the time to really hire a publicist or an agency is when you really want to be out there as a celebrity, right? Or as a personality. You want to do public speaking. You want to you know, establish yourself as that thought leader, and you need to be pitched, or you are trying to, and you have those numbers to back it up, right? Otherwise, yes, people will wonder, wow, you know, why does she have an agent when she's got, you know, she's just starting out, or what are her accolades, or what is her resume, right? Where has she appeared, and they're going to ask you for your sizzle reel, and, you know, so you have to build that. You have to get to that point, in my opinion, where you will need that. It all depends on your goals, though, right? So if you say my dream right now is to have my own show and to be the top influencer in beauty, you know, and that is my goal, right? And I want to get there within the next year. So then maybe we should talk about that, right? How are we going to do that, and is that realistic? But that's going to be tough, right, to do in that short of a time frame. So I think it just depends on how, you know, what you're looking to do and how you want to build it. But I think, yeah, people may look at you like you're a little bit crazy when you're just starting out, if right away we can't reach you. You know, we have to go through somebody. So, but, you know, to each his own. I mean, hey, everybody deserves somebody to rep them, you know.
I would say from the earned media perspective, I think I would shun it, because if you have the agent, then an agent is there because they make money when you make money. So if I'm working directly, if I have to go through an agent to get earned media, then I already know,
well, right.
You know.
Agent's different.
Right. Now, if you're like, you just have, like, if you need someone to help you manage your email, then maybe just have an assistant. And then you have an assistant say, hey, I'm Imani's assistant, you know, she'll be in touch with you. Is there any way I can help you in the interim? You know, and I would say make sure you have someone whose energy and personality kind of mirrors yours. So if they're interacting with someone in between you because of whatever, then you have to make sure that person is a good representative of you. There are people, even celebrities, that I would never work with, because a person that's between me and that person is so hard to work with and so difficult that it's just not worth the time and energy. You know, so keep that in mind. Last question. I like this question. This is for everyone. What are the benefits that come with working with PR companies?
Millions.
Let's start with the influencers. Ella, have you found any PR companies?
I was gonna say, tell me. I honestly have not worked with any PR companies, so I would love to hear more.
So you mean like working with them for opportunities and campaigns?
Yes.
You said,
Or anything. What's the value of working with people in PR? Or if there is any.
No, I think it's value. I think that working directly with a PR company, you get to, as an influencer, you get to pitch your rate versus if you have a manager, they're taking a cut, or if it's part of an influencer platform, they're taking a cut. So I think that it's beneficial because, number one, you get to build relationships. So if there's an opportunity that someone has, and like Brian said, if he thinks of you later and you're in the back of their mind all the time, building relationships is important. So I think that working with a PR agency, they may have something else that they have for you if you worked with them before. So I think it's good, essentially.
PR pros.
Yeah.
Brian, come on now.
Well, I guess I'm a little bit confused about like to what extent. Are we talking about as a client? Are we talking about as an influencer? Or do you want me to address all of it?
I would say as an influencer. Let's keep it as an influencer.
So, well, as an influencer, you get ideas, right? If you need content. So we have a lot of clients who need a lot of coverage for many different things, and working with a PR company is just like having a source that can provide you great content. And if you work with a good PR company, we will follow you and understand what you need and only come to you for things that are fashion, lifestyle, and travel, and really know how to match you with the right type of content. Now, number two, if you're looking to be a thought leader in your space, or you are looking to maybe get PR for yourself as an influencer, that's a second way that you can work with PR people, because I may have a fashion brand that doesn't have a spokesperson and is looking to have an influencer maybe go get out there and talk about their product, or maybe to be, to critique an awards show on their behalf or something. And so a PR agency would be great to partner with. Or a hair product, So I think that's a great way that influencers can work with PR agencies, and that's how we can help support each other in that way. And just to give you more exposure for your platforms, and for us to be able to really support each other.
I'll wrap it up. I think PR professionals help influencers and just people in general, because our job makes us connectors to a lot of different people and a lot of different things. And so I have one friend who's an influencer, and she may be stuck for content. And she's like, Vanessa, I'm stuck. What do you have? And I can just throw a whole bunch of things at her, like, well, I'm working on this, I'm working on this, I'm working on this, well, what about this? And even if it's not a client of mine, I may know someone to refer him or her to, because I'm just always out and about and around, and we're always invited to events, things of that nature. So you just, I may work on a food account today, and even though I'm not working on a food account tomorrow, if you're a food blogger, I still may have access to certain things that may help you, like lots of events, like, if you cover entertainment, there's a screening going on, do you want these tickets to the screener? So we just always randomly have access to stuff for just no reason. So I wouldn't say no reason, but we just randomly have access to stuff that just may help. And sometimes I know that influencers get stuck, and so sometimes what we have may work and sometimes it doesn't work, which is why it's good to know multiple PR people. So if I don't have what you need, the next person has what you need, and you're like, yeah, I can do that, send me some lipstick. So with that being said, I have to wrap it up. Please be sure to fill out that questionnaire front and back, and just leave it on the front desk where Sean is. And I'm sad to say goodbye. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it out tonight. Give our speakers a round of applause. Michelle, thank you. Brian J. Packer, Michelle Thames, and Ellen Reed. Oh, how do you pronounce your last name?
Shoot that.